Welcome to the breakdown where we break down all the messed up shit. I hope y'all are safe and healthy right now. While you're stuck inside with nothing to do, let me give you something to watch. Feel free to not watch this video if your situation is overwhelming right now. We are all going through things because of the sickness, and sometimes the last thing we need is to see stuff like Men Behind the Sun, also known as Hey Taeyang 731 or Black Sun 731. Simply it shows some new arriving youth corps in Manchukuo viewing the sick experiments done on natives of the puppet state and other prisoners. They are dehumanized by General Ishii and his band of militarist ass kissers. General Ishii actually wasn't prosecuted for these crimes. The United States was too interested in the research gained from Unit 731. If you want to see what happens, including all the messed up parts, stay tuned for the breakdown. Cue the Gohan. The movie begins documentary style, showing the history as well as the geographic location of Unit 731. Some youth corps of the Empire is sent to Manchukuo to help out at the unit. General Ishii arrives back at the headquarters to oversee what's going on. As of right now, it's 1944. According to General Ishii, the goal is to produce bacterial weapons to help the Empire of Japan win the war. Meanwhile, some of the youth corps are trying to splinter cell into one part of the compound just to get a ball back. It has some sentimental value, I guess. Too bad the superiors discovered a whole group of missing kids not in bed, and everybody gets slapped for it. The whole building is alerted with sirens like what you would hear as a tornado warning, and the teen who started this whole idiot mission dodges gunfire left and right, only to run into an electrified fence. This whole act is embarrassing towards the higher-ups, and General Ishii begins to lay down some law from the top up. But he hears from his brother here that a rival named Nakatomi is talking shit. Turns out Ishii made a water purifier, and Nakatomi said it's a terrible invention. To prove Nakatomi wrong and embarrass him, Ishii pees in his water purifier and then drinks what comes out. And everybody is saying in their heads, what was the point of all that? So soon the logs are brought in. The generals all designated the prisoners as being logs. A lot of scenes in this movie is the generals trying to dehumanize the prisoners. To signify other people as simply other is a terrible lesson to teach others. One of the prisoners is a mother with a crying baby named Zhao Qing. The Imperial unit dragged the woman away from her baby and kills the baby by burying it in snow. Back to the whole dehumanizing thing. The youth corps see a mute Chinese boy playing behind the gates of the compound and chase after him, thinking that he has the ball of an old friend. You know, the one that died from running into an electric fence. They let him go after realizing he has his own special ball, and just overall, they become friends with him. Meanwhile, General Ishii walks upon some doctors vomiting. What was some doctors doing that made them vomit? Turns out they was doing some live dissection on some poor guy. That's not fun to watch at all. Remember Ishii's rival named Nakatomi? Well, it turns out Nakatomi has been officially designated to the southern front of the war, the same front where the Japanese are losing badly, and it is a death sentence to be sent out there. It was all General Ishii's doing. The mother of the baby who was killed is named Zhao Huishu, and she is taken by some generals for testing. She holds a pillow to cope with the loss of her baby. In the beginning, it was 1944, but now time has passed to maybe over a year later. Zhao is tied up and has her arms frozen solid over time. Then she is brought back in with frostbite and is dipped into 15 degrees Celsius water and has her arms both degloved by the lead scientist. Another victim named Jin is put into an instant freezing station of negative 196 degrees Celsius, and it takes only a few smashes to his arms to completely shatter them. The youth corps have seen both experiments and they struggle to watch them. So soon we move through time, and now it's the summer of 1945. The Empire of Japan is suffering across all fronts, and its survival depends on the biological weapons that the unit can create. According to this general, they have produced a virus 60 times stronger than the Black Death virus, and has enough of it to wipe out all of mankind. apparently, I guess. But there aren't any successful ways to spread it by bomb or anything. I guess you can't really rely on just rats and fleas. General Ishii gets an idea soon though. One day he is just sexually relaxing with some geishas. One geisha comes in though, and Ishii decides that he wants her all to himself. He awkwardly lathers up her body and pinches her. When he pulls hairs from her, she knocks over a little pottery bowl and it spreads pieces everywhere. It gives him the idea to create bombs that spread the virus like that. It's such an idea that gives him a standing ovation from anybody too scared to question him. They are still testing single people behind the scenes though. I'm more of a computer scientist than anything, so I can't really understand the point of some of these experiments. Like, what was the point of the freezing when they can't stop shutting up about Black Death this and Plague that? This next experiment is nasty and gross. They put Chu Hua here in a decompression chamber and crank it up all the way to the highest setting. It eventually makes him bloated and he busts out his bowels and intestines outside of his booty hole. Sounds like a terrible way to go. Hopefully his pain ended quickly. But again, what was the point of that? Maybe this film could explain the point of the experiments better, but perhaps it helps for us to be in the dark, like how the prisoners themselves were. A Russian woman named Natasha and her daughter are then slowly killed by some gas as the youth watch. I told y'all a lot of children will be dying in the next few uploads. We just getting started too. One day, the mute Chinese boy who plays on the other side of the compound is let in by his friend. The superior generals asked him to lead the boy in, but didn't tell him why. The boy is excited and happy, and the doctors have gained his trust easily. They strip him nude, put him to sleep, and then get right into dissecting him. They harvest all of his organs. I can't show this scene because I hear from many sources that the director includes real dissection footage into this scene. Anyway, his friend is forced to push the boy's corpse all the way to the cremation room. You see, the youth corps didn't like that at all. They band together to punish the superior officer for killing the mute boy. During a disinfection scene, they all jump him and beat him with wooden sticks. Previously, they were forced to beat a Chinese prisoner just like this. Well, here comes the famous cat scene. A live cat is thrown into a den of rats and is slowly munched on by them until it becomes a bloody mess. Probably won't show the ending result because I hear reports that this scene could have been real. I don't want to show real animal abuse anymore after Cannibal Holocaust. That's one of my biggest regrets. Regardless, things are wrapping up for Unit 731. The main prisoners want to escape and survive so they can alert the outside world to the presence of Unit 731, but they still gotta survive the experiments. One experiment is tying prisoners to crosses and having planes drop ceramic bombs on them filled with fleas, but the airfield retreated. Why did they retreat? Because apparently Hiroshima and Nagasaki have been bombed. Unit 731 is called to retreat as well. In the midst of the bad news, the prisoners all escape from their bounds. Still, they gotta outrun the trucks and machine guns. It doesn't go too well for the prisoners, but they do have some balls though. Only one of the prisoners survives, and his name is Stone. He was like the young hope for some of the prisoners to let the outside world know about this establishment. The youth corps actually hide him in the cremation room. Later, General Ishii gets the orders saying to retreat, and he just sits in reflection about it. The Empire lost big time, huh? He assumes the responsibility to destroy everything that could prove the existence of Unit 731, which includes documents, infrastructure, and prisoners. Everybody is also ordered to commit suicide if captured, with cyanide. But the generals soon disagree with that and just say that everybody should just go back to their families. This scene right here is a scene of huge loss. You can just feel the failure. Somebody is hiding along though. It's the single living prisoner, Stone, but he eventually gets found out. Now clap it up for Stone, because this dude was ready to defend himself against a dozen of Japanese soldiers like he was Kiryu or something. He dies though, but he died hard. You see what I'm saying? His goal was to escape and alert others outside of Manchukuo, I guess, about the presence of Unit 731. It's fine though, because we know about it now. The movie ends as Stone's blood splatters on the Japanese flag, and a crying baby is heard along with his mother and the youth corps being driven away. The generals watch silently. World War II was just a ridiculous time. I can read about it all I want, but I can't imagine a fraction of what it's really like. Now that we got through Black Sun 731, let's talk about the most disturbed moment and most enjoyed moment, and that's spooky stuff. So let's get right into it. The most disturbed moment is for me either the pressure chamber scene or the mute boy organ dissection. The pressure chamber scene was just gross, and I don't want to imagine death in that way. The dissection was sad because the boy had no idea what was going to happen. The most enjoyed moment is probably the youth corps. They basically disregarded their superiors a lot and didn't fall victim to the dangerous rhetoric that generals would use to dehumanize the prisoners. Empathy is lacking in many people today. And that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I got a lot more time on my hands, so I'm going to be uploading as much as I would like. Might even play some games or something. I don't know. Well, I'll see y'all next week. Spooky out.